Ferrari's hopes of competing in 2025 after their strong campaign in 2024 have vanished quickly, and the team is in a very tricky situation right now. They have two very ambitious drivers in Leclerc and Hamilton who are going to seek a lot of performance upgrades, especially in 2026. But if they don't receive them, could the Maranello-based squad face the inevitable? A creeping question enters into the Tifosi internal circles. Is there a chance that we're going to see Leclerc gone from the team if they fail to deliver when it matters the most? According to a former engineer from the team, it's a realistic option, and we need to be on alert. We cannot pretend like it's not in front of our eyes. Every time we see a sad face. A talent that Ferrari just cannot seem to optimize to its fullest. We're talking about arguably the best driver on the grid, always maximizing the performance out of the car, only for him to go out there and be humiliated by team tactics, strategies, and engine failures. Sure, there have been some blunders from his side as well, such as the 2022 French GP and Imola, but does something top Brazil in that same year. The pressure on Ferrari is massive. You cannot fail in the new regulations. The rumors and chatter from the internal circles are loud and clear. It's Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren, and Aston Martin, the teams that we need to be watching out for. More importantly, Ferrari seems to finally have a proper engine to fight up front. They had two opportunities in 2022 in the Drivers' and 2024 in the Constructors' Championships. And what disappoints the fans and probably the drivers the most is the fact that after 2024 we thought we'd see Ferrari up there with McLaren. But they've decided to change the entire concept of the car. 95% of the car was built differently from what it was in 2024. And there have been some serious critics regarding that matter. Throughout the first half of the season, the team has some quite disappointing stats. Leclerc is the only one who achieved pole position, if we don't count the sprint races, and in total the team has only 5 podiums. I don't think Charles would be happy if this is how Ferrari is going to continue with their development, despite the majority of the focus being on 2026 right now. And that's why the former Ferrari engineer believes that a move from Charles out of the Maranello-based squad is a realistic option. You could easily understand why the frustration of Leclerc is founded. And when talking about this, the engineer said, "It's possible that Leclerc leaves Ferrari, but I think his thought process is, what if I change teams and in a year or two Ferrari comes up with a car I need to win the world championship? Then you have to consider what alternatives you have and how certain you are about them." I don't see it as likely for now, but I think the question that Leclerc is asking himself is, what if I leave and finally everything I want from the car arrives the following year? That's a risk that Hamilton thought about before leaving Mercedes as well, even before he decided to leave Mercedes. It was believed that the Brackley-based squad would have an upper hand in the newly regulated era. Still, his decision to join Ferrari echoed something very important. He could have touched info that we don't, hence his controversial and shocking decision. But what about Leclerc? He's been the Prince of Ferrari for a very long period of time. Ever since he debuted back in 2019 and scored back-to-back wins in Spa and Monza, we knew that we had a real gem on our hand. But from that point on, he has only gone on to win 6 more races. Back in 2022, Ferrari had a very strong start to the season. They were called the porpoising geniuses because of how little the phenomenon affected the car's performance. However, engine issues, tactic blunders and driver mistakes led to Leclerc finishing up as a vice champion. And from that point on, it was obvious that the team needed some inside cleaning. With Vasseur arriving, a lot was expected. But so far, we can't actually see Leclerc being happy with the team. The messages in Australia and the last one in Hungary are speaking volumes as to how he really feels. Let's not forget the angry rant he had during last year's Las Vegas GP, where Leclerc sent a fierce threat. "From now on, I'm only going to think about myself. The foundation is there. Ferrari has failed a lot more than he did them." So it's obvious that he would have a legitimate reason to leave if 2026 turns out to be non-competitive.
That means McLaren and Mercedes are 2 realistic options for the monogasque driver. Considering how the situation with George Russell and Mercedes is, because of Wolff's temptations to wait and see what's going to happen with Verstappen, we know one thing. There could be a change in the drivers' lineup in the Brackley-based squad. Both of their drivers are running out of contract in 2026. And if Leclerc suddenly springs open on the market, even if Verstappen isn't open, we know Wolff's philosophy. Sign the best available driver and bring your team back on the winning track. Another strong challenge could be offered at McLaren, but there seems to be a condition that needs to be filled first: an intra-team scuffle that would make one of the drivers leave. It could be similar to what happened in Mercedes back in 2016 when Rosberg decided to retire after winning the championship. And although that is a bit too dreamy right now, we need to wait and see how 2025 and 2026 shape up the internal chemistry in McLaren. Having two young and competitive drivers is a sword with two ends. While you compete on track, certain relationships are getting destroyed outside of it. And Norris, for example, could set some boundaries or maybe ask to be released, wanting to prove to McLaren that he can win with another top team as well. All of these stories are going to be interesting to watch unfold, but one thing is for sure: Leclerc's future is all but secured. Yes, he is committed to Ferrari right now, and to say that he'd leave in the foreseeable future is nothing but speculation. However, if Ferrari fails again in 2026, similar to how they failed back in 2022,